Hello, good afternoon. So today we will have our ninth lecture. So it's on our capacity control of our refrigeration cycle, and we have interest in the type of refrigerants and ozone, and we understand their adverse effect on the ozone depletion and global warming. So today, in fact, we will mainly understand more about refrigerants and how to select refrigerants and their adverse effect on our environment. Firstly, I think it's important for us is to understand the industry revolution in the history. So we have now at the moment, we are experiencing the fourth industrial revolution, including AI, big data, etc. Now let's have a look. What's the first industrial revolution? That's mainly what we have learned for our so mechanical production, okay, mechanical production. So we can see from the thermal energy, especially from the thermal energy. So the effect is the thermal energy to work, okay? Because we successfully invented heat engines to convert thermal energy to work. Okay, now let's have a look. So we can see, in fact, in the history, we have 4 industrial revolutions, and where we are, in fact, for our heat engines, we successfully transform the thermal energy into work. Okay, so this is the age of mechanical production. So in the past 300 years, so due to the first industrial revolution, it had changed the whole world. So let's watch the video to further understand the the age of mechanical production of the first industrial revolution. So which is firstly in Britain, and then French, Germany, etc.
先做个自我介绍，我叫孙瑞，你可以叫我。
Industrial Revolution, 18th to 19th century. The economic developments of the 1800s saw the development of agrarian and handicraft economies in Europe and America transform into industrial urbanized ones. The term to describe this phenomenon would be known as the Industrial Revolution, and was first used by French writers but made popular by English economic historian Arnold Toynbee. The Industrial Revolution was underpinned by the Agricultural Revolution. From the mid-18th century to the mid-19th century, agricultural production increased significantly. The huge increase in food output supported the expansion and sustained a large population and boosted trade. The increased use of machines over human or animal power in farming also meant that less farm workers were needed, and they could leave the land to industrial towns. Better metals and richer fuel also contributed to industrialization by creating the steam engine, an integral machine to industrialization which powered factories, locomotives, and ships. The new steam engines used coal and iron, both in their construction and as fuel, increasing demand for these resources. Roads, canals, and railways changed Britain dramatically, connecting Britain and allowing goods to be sent over long distances. Visually, the revolution was clear in the new industrial towns, with smoking factories dominating the skyline. The cities were horrible to live in, overcrowded and dirty with dangerous conditions in the factories and strict rules and punishments. The Industrial Revolution saw mechanization in factories of the textile industry, which was previously manufactured in the home, creating the term cottage industry. Now, production could be increased on a large scale because of new inventions such as the spinning mule and the power loom. The iron industry developed with Henry Bessemer's inexpensive process for mass-producing steel. Iron and steel were key materials for constructing the tools and machinery, steam engines, and ships needed for the industrial progress. Industrial labour opportunities drew people to the cities from the countryside, to such an extent that in 1750 only 15% of the population of Britain lived in towns. By 1850, over 50% of the entire population of Great Britain lived in either a town or a city, and by 1900 it was 85%. London had 4.5 million people, Glasgow 760,000, Liverpool 685,000, and Manchester and Birmingham 500,000. Great Britain was the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution and was the only mature industrial economy for a long time. Historians have speculated that this was because, as an island, there was relative peace and stability for Britain compared to mainland Europe. Rather than spending on a large defensive standing army, capital could be spent on other ventures, and there was confidence for investors. Native resources were also abundant and readily available for initial technological developments and inventions. Engineers and inventors were also respected and encouraged in British society and were backed by wealthy patrons. A powerful navy and an empire bringing in vast wealth from its colonies also contributed to the catalyst for industrialization before others. Nevertheless, Germany, France, Switzerland, Belgium, and the United States soon emulated Britain's industrial change, and by 1900, Britain would no longer be at the top.
Okay, so from the video, we can see where we are. In fact, the first industry revolution had changed our world. So because due to the kind of energy transformation from thermal, especially mainly from thermal energy into work. Okay, so that's we are learning now. And the second industrial revolution, in fact, is the age of science and mass production, is especially electrification. So electrification, so we can see 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago, there is a second industrial revolution. There is power electrification. So we have many appliances can be electrified, and we have the because from the first industrial revolution, we invented the stationary steam turbine for power plants. Not only for the we convert the mechanical work further into power. And then there's the third industrial revolution, the digital revolution, and the fourth industrial revolution. Okay, we will not mention about that much because it's not very related to our subject. And then we introduce after electrification. Okay, then we think if we invented the reverse heat engine for refrigeration. So refrigeration, there is a long history, and the history of artificial refrigeration began when Scottish professor William Cullen designed a small refrigerating machine in 1755. Okay, and then there's American built the first working vapor compression refrigeration system in the world, and later, but before. There is no electricity supply. Okay, they can be the compression process can be used for other. So the compression power work can be from other resources. Okay, so until 1927, the General Electric released the first refrigerator to run on electricity. So before the popularized refrigerator, okay, so how our ancient people to provide cooling or refrigeration. So we can see, in fact, they have ice harvesting. So they are harvest ice and store them for summer for food storage. Even in the movie Frozen, so there is one scene of ice harvesting. Maybe we have fun. We watch it. Okay, only 1 or 2 minutes.